is the panel. The panel discussion remains four forces framework, the leadership impact and imperative. Well, this is a very, very important, I will say a very significant topic to discuss. And as they said, we have a very, very fabulous set of panelists joining us. Of course, we look out for industry leaders and experts to guide us through the key elements and crucial and I think very significant topic. This has to also be one of the most interactive and very important topic.
We have a CEO panel. We try to have one for every event that we do. Sometimes to give us the bigger perspective, sometimes to give a different perspective, sometimes to get some insights, practical insights. And here we are trying to look at more at the CEO's personal, individual perspective in the face of massive transformation that is happening across the sector, in each organization, and I'm sure within each department in your respective, in each of your organizations. We're looking at this whole thing from a four forces framework, looking at four forces that seem to be the biggest movers of transformation today. One is AI, different types of AI, different forms of AI, which have been discussed during the day. One is digital landscape, digital transformation, which is an ongoing exercise. The third one is regulation, which is getting tighter, faster, and quite a challenge. And the fourth one is government, which for most of the time had been an enabler, but now is also playing the role of a regulator, whether it's a DPDP Act or different government agencies interacting with it, whether relating to cybersecurity or any other aspect, whether relating to anti-money laundering, so on and so forth. So within these four forces, AI, digital, government, and regulation, we will have a chat with our esteemed panelists and try to get some insights on how they see things evolving and making an impact. So in no particular order for anyone to respond, we can begin. My only request is, let's keep the responses short and sweet. So I call something the Maggie rule. So if you can make Maggie in 2 minutes, I hope you can respond to each question also within 2 minutes, right? So you can get the flavor of your answer while it is hot and fresh. So among these four forces, which one would you say is creating the maximum impact on your organization and the way it is shaping your organization? Could you talk about that one force briefly and how it is impacting? Anyone can begin. Sarabjit, yes.
So I think as far as our organization is concerned, digital transformation is the key. Okay. So this is making the maximum impact on overall scheme of things currently. So if you look at over the last 2 and 3 years, we have done a lot of digitization. We have done a lot of work on digital front. So we have streamlined the entire end-to-end customer journey. We have digitized entire end-to-end customer journey, right from the login to the dispersal. And also we have introduced few of the chatbots for customer service and all that stuff. So I believe that since the only factor for an NBFC to remain competitive is the turnaround time, and I think for that to happen, this digital transformation is really, really very important, and that is the key in today's world.
Okay, and in the next, let's say 1 or 2 years, you see that as a primary force?
That along with obviously the generative AI, right? So if you look at, obviously, this is a new terminology, this is a new branch which has come up in last 2 to 3 years, right? And there are a lot of things which are happening around it, and there are a lot of machine learning models or even large language models which are coming into play. And each and every organization is trying to see how they can bundle the AI into different processes and streamline the things. I think So both the things, digital transformation as well as this generative AI is going to be the key in the near future.
Thank you. Ma'am, yes?
In my view, as Sarabjit mentioned, that one is, of course, the digital transformation, which is really taking on as a big force. Every organization has to invest into technology to make themselves relevant to the ultimate client and make quicker decisions and quicker transmission of what they need. That undoubtedly is one of the key requirements for the day, and it is only set to increase as we move on in life. Second is the regulatory changes. Today, we as a country are not only governed by the Reserve Bank of India guidelines and everything as a regulated entity, but there are so many other external forces also which makes our decisions on the ultimate borrower, leading to various decision-making processes. For example, the geopolitics of the Trump tariff, the impact on textiles and the ginners, the spinners, so on and so forth. So as a CEO, you have got to be completely adept at what is happening in the country, and not only in the country, beyond the shores, as to what is going to impact my client. So the client centricity, the knowledge, and the external forces and the regulatory environment is absolutely critical in making a successful organization.
Right, thank you. Yes, the tariffs and global supply chains are indeed affecting the common man now.
Hi. So I'm Sabyasachi from Purple Finance. Little bit of background about us. So we are just a 2-year-old finance company, and we do small ticket lab in absolutely tier 3, tier 4 cities. So small villages and roughly 3,000 customers. So I agree with Ambika and Simarjit that digital is the thing. So as a CEO, you have to drive your organization towards digital, and you spend most of the time towards digital. In fact, I remember one incident, or one of the anecdotes I want to give you is that we are into secure lending. We do lending against property. So when we started, we thought, what is the biggest pain point for our customer? We did a survey of our customer to understand that was the biggest pain point. So everybody in the industry said, and we have a lot of our peers here, that it takes anywhere between 15 days to 35 days to tell the customer that we want to fund you or not. And they also said that many of the people take upfront fees, which you call the login fees, anywhere between 3,000 rupees to 6,000 rupees, and then tell the customer after 15 days that we cannot fund you. So we thought, how do digitalization will help solving this? So we approached it in 2 ways. One is that we thought, why can't we split our fees into 2 parts? So we first take 600 rupees from a customer entirely through a digital journey, through a Paytm, and we give a go and no-go decision in 30 minutes. We tell the customer that we can fund you in 30 minutes or not. We have taken the help of a partner called TEAL, Terra Economic Analytics Limited. They do a property search, the basic level property search, in 30 minutes and tell me whether this property is good to go. So we do have put a BRE into our system, and based on a BRE, we decide and tell the customer that in 30 minutes we can fund you or not. That gives a delight to my partners who source for me and for my customers also. Yes, so digitalization is something which is very critical, takes a lot of time for the CEO, and as an organization, across the organization, you have to get digitalization into it. And every step, I think now blockchain, is getting into, blockchain is nothing but process improvement at the every step. And yes, in the future, 2-3 years, you will see that both digitalization and the AI becomes one single word. They will merge into each other. There will not be any differentiation. Now coming to regulatory, as a CEO, of course, we don't spend that much of time on a regulatory, that there are people, but the regulatory, the one part of regulatory is definitely, it is imposing a lot of restriction on you, but on a good way. The recent example is co-lending circular between NBFC to NBFC, which has given you a proper guidance how to go about it. But I think the cost of regulation is a matter of concern for all of us as CEO. The cost of regulation is increasing tremendously for all of us. So we have to be very careful on that and ensure that we are regulatory compliant with a defined cost.
Right.
That's very critical for us. The third part, if you ask me as a CEO what time I spend, actually 60% of 60% of the time I spend in getting money. Yeah. All of us will agree to that, right?
But thank you for introducing the forces of time and cost into this discussion. Pinak, Sadaf, who want to go next? Pinak?
Marji, I think all the variables that you talk about, I divided into one is like controllable, and then there are something which is not exactly in direct control, but having a very significant impact. So both government and regulation actually shape the kind of nature of industry, organization, wherever we are working in. So I think both things have a significant impact, but I would say the regulation and the government, the way they look at it as in a sector and how they promote it has a very, very significant impact in terms of shaping the organization. For example, if you look at in the current scenario, the year gone by, there was an emphasis from the regulator that unsecured lending should be reduced, and which had a significant impact across the industry. I'm not talking about only my organization or NBFC for that matter. I'm talking about many other lenders and banks, and everybody had an impact, and as a result the growth slowed down, and of course impact on the NPA and everything, all that followed. So I think regulator, of course, without a doubt has a biggest impact, and also it acts as a great enabler. So if you talk about microfinance industry, a couple of years ago in 2022, they liberalized the microfinance policy in terms of pricing, in terms of the cap and income cap. So there was a tremendous growth in the industry. And of course, some growth is healthy, some growth is unhealthy. So now that system is clearing that out, but definitely without a shadow of the doubt, if you ask me to pick out of the four, I would say regulator and government would have a very, very significant impact. Of course, in terms of your own ability to impact your future, digital is something that everybody is focusing on. We are also focusing on. But I think Gen AI would be disruptive, and it can have a significant impact on kind of expanding reach, also bringing in cost efficiencies, simplifying approach to doing business. So I think digital is what we are doing right now, but generative AI would have a
And you see it
impact.
being positively disruptive.
Yes, definitely positively disruptive in a sense that you will be able to do a lot more with lot less.
More with less. That sounds good. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. So I obviously agree with everything what all my peer panelists here have mentioned, but I have a slightly different perspective to the whole advent of technology. And whilst it is a necessity today, it can't be a luxury, obviously. You need digitization in your processes, etc., and improvement in productivity and stuff. But at the genesis of an NBFC business are people. And I strongly believe that despite the advent of technology and AI and whatnot, people are not going to go away. They are going to be the drivers of business which we are into, and we are end of the day dealing with money. So that's where you need a culture built around your entire company's, all your colleagues at the company, because that's something which is going to drive. So just to give you an example, if you're talking about technology or adaptation to AI, how is it that every person in the company, you know, there are large, complicated, sophisticated words we listen about AI and this is what it can do, but there are very simplistic stuff which, small little things which any role in the company can actually utilize that and see and become more productive. So I think the ethos has to be a culture where there are two pillars. One, how can the company get more productive across every role, every individual? And two, how can we be compliant on regulation in every form and manner? And I strongly believe NBFCs are children of regulation. I think we may have faced a little bit of headwind in terms of the difficult decisions the regulator may have imposed on us over the last 18 months and stuff, but I think it's for the good of the industry and the longevity of the industry. Thanks.
Right, interesting. The people aspect, definitely. The human capital is becoming a challenge for every sector, in fact, not just financial sector. So let's move on. I would like to get your excuse me, individual perspective. As an individual, which of these is most interesting to you personally, so that you want to spend more time on it and understand it, and in your role, do the best with it? One is your organization, so all of you have described the organizational perspective, but individually, what interests you or what troubles you the most, that you have to spend time and effort on being up to date? Ambika ma'am?
See, as a CEO, you are expected to be in charge of everything.
Yes.
Let it be the P&L of the organization, let it be the governance, let it be the technology adoption, regulatory and adoption, so on and so forth. It's not something that you would want to only focus on a particular thing. Of course, the end goal is the P&L, the client that you're servicing. So you have got to have a complete perspective across all the verticals, including the adoption of the regulatory guidelines, the governance, fraud prevention, what Pinaki mentioned about the ethos of the company, getting all the people to work towards the common goal, and finally, client centricity. That's where the client centricity is what would take an organization to its success. Unless you are clearly understanding the client needs, their ecosystem, their kind of funding requirements, how they are going to behave based on the various events which are happening across the industry. I mean, you have got to have a perspective on everything. So if you ask one single passion, if you want to really make the company successful, you have got to have a governance eye, at the same time have a client-centric approach.
Governance and client-centric. Okay, that's a good takeaway. Who wants to add something? Something you're passionate about among all these, or any other force?
I agree with Vartika. So what she said, probably from a CEO perspective, the ultimate goal is that we are basically driven by the P&L, right? And who drives the P&L is basically the end user or the customer. So the maximum time or you should be spending on how to make the life easier for the customer or for the end user, how you can simplify your processes, how you can shorten your processes, or how you can adapt digitization to make the overall experience much better. So I'll just give you one example that personally, if I talk about my company, so we were present almost all the processes were manual a few years back, right? So in last 2 to 3 years, there is a lot of personal attention of mine and even other senior management people who have gone up in ensuring that customer journey becomes more smoothen, and we try to build rule engines, or we try to integrate our systems, third-party integration to make sure that each and every process gets digitized. So during this course, what has happened? One, obviously, the efficiencies has improved. And second, there is a lot of reduction in TAT. So earlier the money which used to go into customers' wallet, it used to take close to 10 to 12 days. Now with all these things, the overall TAT has reduced to 5 to 6 days. Now we are working further that how we can make it much better. And another thing is, it is not only about spending time on how to onboard, but also you have to think over that what impact should be made once customer is onboarded, how we can make his life easier. So for that front, a lot of time of our has been spent in developing customer service app, customer service portal, so which basically has automated the entire process. So for me, obviously, if you talk about my personal thought process, it is clearly aligned with the organization thought process, that wherever is needed right now, the thought process or the time should be spent on those particular aspect only.
And at least for the timing, customer focus. Customer journey is the focus area.
Yes.
Right? Who would like to talk next about their personal focus areas? Pinak?
So whilst definitely there is going to be a significant amount of time which one needs to spend around fundraising and regulatory aspects, but what I love the most is interacting with customers on the field.
Okay.
And that, to my mind, has actually, it's very easy to sit in the corner room and push our sales team and business team to get in more business. But if you are on the front, realizing what difficulties they face, it gives you a very different perspective. And then you can correlate to what are the systems you need to build, what are the processes you need to improve. So till the time you are in touch with the customer right at the front end with your colleagues, I think the learnings just can be 10x. And I'll share an example of this. On one of my visits to a branch, I typically have a habit of requesting my branch manager to take me to a few clients. And typically, it is expected that you will take us to the best clients who are going to talk good about the company, about the experience.
Of
So
course.
they bought a list of 5 customers to me and said, we can go and meet any of these. These are in the nearby vicinity. I said, no, I don't want to meet these 5. Take me to a disgruntled customer. So taking that forward, met the customer. He was an existing customer needing a top-up loan. And he was so excited to explain his entire business to us. And end of it, over a cup of tea, sitting in his workplace, I had to explain to him why we could not give him an extra loan, why his cash flows are stretched, and when is it that we can support him. He can possibly come back after a year or so when his business has taken to another level and come back. So that took me back to see what challenges my teams are facing and then work with my credit and in turn on the processes as to how is it that I can improve the reach to this customer and how I can make his life easier. So it's been 6 months. We are in touch with the customer. He's still with us.
Okay.
And the hope being at some point in time, the inflection point being we'll be able to grant him the additional loan that he needs.
Sound good. So chai par charcha is what is your passion, if I may say so. Good one. Good way to approach understanding customers. It reminds me of, used to read stories in school that the king would go disguised into the market, interact with the people in his country and understand what's really happening and not just depend upon the ministers to give him that first direct access to information. Okay, wonderful. Yes,
Yeah,
Sati
I
sir.
think most of my colleague panelists have actually said most of the things. I think Ambika said very clearly that as a CEO, you have to have a focus on everything. So be it fundraising, be it HR, be it compliance, governance, on everything. But one thing I'm really passionate about is collections. Yeah, I believe as a lender, if you are not able to get your money on time, then you are finished. And collection is no longer the old days of collection where you just go and thrash a customer and get money. You have to have a lot of portfolio analytics, lot of early warning analytics, lot of digital intervention into collections, and get early warning signal much more or much earlier to redefine your company strategy, redefine your collection policies, redefine your credit risk parameters, and then drive the company in such a way that you don't get surprises at the last minute. And that happens to 2-3 things. Like what Pinakin said is that to go and meet your people at the branches, meet the customer at the branches, understand what is their pain points, understand what stress they are going through, how do you adjust. There are a lot of social, political, and even things like flood and all that, which is affecting your collectability of the customer. So sitting in the office, you cannot go and understand that. You have to go to the field, right? And also doing a lot of portfolio analytics. So just to give you a little bit of sense, we just started a call center personally in our company. We do a lot of analytic calls. We do calls to the customer very frequently and do sentimental analysis on that. We understand from the calls that what is the customer tone, how is he speaking to you, how many times he's disconnecting your call, how many times he's not picking up your call, and all that we do sentimental analysis to know and understand that which are the areas where you have stress coming in, or you decide that yes, this is where I'll have my LTV is tighter, I'll have my FOIR tighter and all that. So which is I'm very passionate about personally. So doing a collection analytics, taking digital into account and ensuring that you are healthy and you are stable all through your journey.
The connection analytics would definitely make a huge impact. because ultimately that's where the truth prevails of the business, right? Siddharth, you want to add something? What is your passion?
First of all, I agree totally with Ambika ji and Simran, what they said in terms of like a CEO's responsibility and what they need to do. I think lately regulation has been keeping us on our toes, so a lot of our time goes in ensuring that we are in full compliance and also ensuring that we are making sure that we make best use of the current regulation. So that's one part that definitely is something that we are committed to, and as a result, as I think Sabyasachi also said, compliance costs are increasing, so how to make sure that that is also under control. But personally speaking about my passion, I'm very, very passionate about innovation. Like new ideas, kind of something which drives me every day. If I have something new to add to what I'm offering to my customer is something that I really love to spend time on, and how we can make it kind of a strategy to go to large segment of customers. So that is what I love to spend time on. And in that, if I can use new technologies, generative AI in any shape and form, whether it's underwriting a customer, sourcing a customer, or ensuring a fulfillment in a more effective, efficient way, that is what drives me, and I'm passionate about that. We have done a bunch of innovation. I think on digital space, actually India has done a lot. I think we talk about the JAM Trinity, Jandan, Aadhaar and mobile, like 55 crore bank accounts plus 120 crore mobile connection, plus everybody having an Aadhaar has really enabled a true digital kind of an ecosystem, taking advantage of that, taking it to the next mile. So generally in microfinance, the collection is all cash. So we have been successfully able to convert around 25% of our collection into digital format. That is coming from the customers directly. Similarly, the perception here is that the rural customer is illiterate and he doesn't know how to operate the application. But if you go and see, and I'm sure Pinak in his experience at the field would have seen that the customer is extremely savvy. And business-centric. So she knows how to operate a Paytm, she knows how to operate a phone pay, she knows everything. So we have created a customer app of our own. We have out of our 3.4 million customer, around 1.8 million customer are a subscriber of our app and transacting digitally. So I spend a lot of time thinking about how we can cater to these customers who are aspirational. Not everybody thinks about them, so not all the services are designed towards them. But being a kind of a service provider who caters to these customers, how we can create products for them and kind of fulfill their needs. So that's what I'm passionate about, and that's what I focus on.
Okay, that's passion for innovation on a very wide playground, literally 360-degree playground. I would like to digress a little bit from our planned conversation and see if I can ask each of you to share one insight that you have gained recently from whichever source, from whichever way, whether it is brainstorming, whether it is talking to a, sorry about my throat, talking to a customer, talking to a consultant, talking to each other, let's say perhaps. Any one insight that has been really, that's really you find very interesting about the industry, about the NBFC sector, that you can share with our audience? Insights are very precious.
Yeah, one I think very recently, or maybe you can say sometime back, I learned this. One of the things that we are trying to do is have more discipline in the field and operation with our employees. I'm really glad that today there is a bill that has been tabled in the parliament of banning gaming. I'm sorry if somebody here kind of feels aggrieved about it, but we in our operation, because we deal with cash, we see a lot of field officers indulging in gaming, losing money, and then pocketing money. So there was a kind of a fraud which was increasing, and this is something that we learned by analyzing the behavior of some of the staff who were involved in the frauds. So we realized that a lot of their compulsion comes from gaming. They lose money and then they want to compensate for it. So I think that is something that we learned, and that's something that we have inculcated in our behavior, that if we have completely banned gaming in our ecosystem, and if we find something, then we take strict disciplinary action. I'm not too sure if the experience in the other panelists is also the same, but that is something that we are very cautious about now.
I think that's a superb insight. Lovely. And it's a takeaway all of us, all organizations can benefit from.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, that experience is not only with employees, also with our customers. So we have actually found that many of our customers, almost 20% of their income, they actually go and spend in this
20%?
gaming. Almost 20 to 25%.
My gosh.
And these are all the most, without taking a name, most of them are the cricket gaming apps. Yeah. So one very insightful thing which when I visited my branches I found, we do have we call it a BCM, branch credit managers. So they operate at the smallest of the branches. So they go and they do a personal discussion, because our customers are non-documented customers, so they don't have income tax return or GST. We assess their income. So it's a assessed income. So they do a PD, call a personal discussion. They go and meet the customer and they spend 1.5 hour time to assess their income and understand what they are doing, what business. The biggest pain point they said is that, sir, when we come back, so this PD I have to make into a proposal, right? And it's called a CAM. We call it a proposal. Somebody calls it a credit approval memo, and all of them are in English. So you find that they find it very difficult, because they are people and they are the local guys. I think Sadab also must be finding in MFI, similar thing you must be finding in Pinakin. So that takes a lot of time, and they're very scared, sir, because, and especially the proposal which they send up to the head office, that my English is not good. So how do you solve that? So you are working on something where their PD voice will get recorded, and through a artificial intelligence, through AI and a machine learning, it will just generate directly a proposal to me. Because they have to take photographs, they have to take the stock details, they have to capture the bills. So everything will be done through a mobile application, and automatically it will throw me out a proposal in English. We are working on that. We will be live in 2 months. So that's a great insight which we got when we visited all these branches.
Yeah, that's not a very common pain point, but it is a practical pain point. Yeah, needs a solution. Good. And good that there is technology today to fix that. Who has another story to tell?
So
Insight.
this is a real time experience we had about a month back, and we had posted hiring request on social media handles, and we received almost about 5,000 CVs of people wanting to join us. And we are a very small team, especially on the HR side. So the challenge came as to how is it that you're going to process this. So if you don't respond to somebody, that also is an offense. People will take take it negatively. So that's where the use of AI really helped. So we could use technology to parse the 5,000 CVs we'd received and filter it and match it to the job description, which we wanted it to be, basis location, basis experience and whatnot, and narrow it down to a significantly smaller amount. And we could have a generic but a personalized response go to the rest of the folks who we did not believe we will be able to get them on board, and the rest of the folks thereafter were taken up in the process for recruitment.
Oh, that's nice. You could give a personalized response. In fact, I'll just digress slightly. For our awards part, one of the participants here shared with us that while we have a jury system for rating the nominations, there could be a peer rating system for rating the nominations. And I thought that was a good idea. So again, to your point, innovation, there are no boundaries. A lot of insights come from so many different ways, different sources. Okay, who wants to go next? So that was a good one.
So,
Simarjeet.
actually, I love visiting branches, as my panelist colleague also mentioned the same. right? So what I do that every month I visit one or other branch, right? So during the visits, obviously this is not a particular thought process or a particular thing which has come up. It's a common problem for all the CEOs or for all the business people. Like, so when we meet people, so when I met them, so the basic problem which I faced was that the productivities which they were really low, right? So the morale was low. And when I further inquired them, ki, what is the reason? So I understood that most of the people, one was were not aware about what kind of incentives they can earn, were not aware about that what kind of products the company run, and how to calculate the eligibility and all that stuff, which are very, very critical about the things, and how to channelize the entire meeting processes with the customer and with the channels, right? So when we thought of this, or when we got hunted by this problem, so we sat back and we thought that why should not we enter into an app, or why should not we have an app where all these things can be taken care of? So we made an app. So obviously that was in a plug and play model which we introduced, and where everything was digitized. So we made different manuals, we did different where different modules, like the module where they can put their meeting requests, they can put their meeting dates as well, where they can also feed their targets, where they can calculate their incentives, that how much business I will do and how much incentives I will earn. Plus they can also calculate or also schedules their meeting, as well as they can calculate the eligibility of each and every particular person. So we introduced an app, we made one app, and we monitored this over last 1 year. And to our surprise, what we see that by introducing this app and by focusing that is being followed, there was an improvement in productivity by 40 to 45% by introducing these measures only. And obviously, with improved productivity, the efficiencies improved, and overall operating costs also went down.
And what was your estimate of the expected improvement in productivity?
So we're expecting 10 to 15%, but it went up to 40-45%.
Superb, superb. Ambika ma'am.
Just for the information of the audience, ours is a Vienna FinServe, which is a very new NBFC. Or rather, Vienna is known for supply chain technology platform across India, for having connected with more than 15 banks, 5 NBFCs, and we see a lot of throughput through supply chain happening. So as a corollary, we said we are going to start a supply chain finance oriented NBFC. So we just got the licenses sometime in the end day of December 24, and we wanted to obviously start off the business fast. And our directors are some of the well-known directors. One is a chairman of a bank, one has been past chairman of an IBA and a bank, so on and so forth. So when we formulate the policies as per the regulations, it runs into reams of pages, because you have got it's working. It's
Just
working.
keep it close.
So the policies which we had to formulate were more than about 17, 18 of them, running into several pages. So come the board meeting, and the board, the independent directors said, can we have synopsis of each of this? And each one of them could be, each policy, if you were to talk about outsourcing policy of an IT, or fair code practices, so on and so forth. There are so many of them. So getting them into a synopsis of a one-pager or a presentation mode, so that's where we used AI very effectively, put the entire thing into the AI mode, and we could encapsulate the key features in one-pager presentations. And it was very well received, because we could capture whatever was so relevant through the AI and present it to the board. So that's how we feel that AI can play an excellent role, increasingly, where you have reams of papers, where you have got to analyze, you have to understand what it says. It gives a wonderful summary.
Very interesting, very interesting. So one thing I saw from these insights, that all of you are pretty innovative, very innovative in the way you find solutions to problems. Someone has got a 40% improvement, someone has reduced 15 pages to 1 page, and so on and so forth. So I think the insights and the explanations that I've given in this forum deserve a loud round of applause. What do you guys say? Sounds good, sounds good. Thank you. We can take a couple of questions if someone wants to ask our panelists.
Thanks. My name is Sanjay Chaturvedi from Namdev, Jaipur. It was a really insightful discussion which we observed today, and especially this one, it was quite amazing, and a lot of things which I learned and have noted definitely for the good of our company. One thing which I am little wondering, because there is a pressure on CEO for the P&L for sure. There is a return, there is a board expectation. We've been hearing AI for quite some time, and today the entire discussions and sessions were related to the technology. My question would be how we see in terms of the timeline. You already explained that how a CEO has to devote the time. Maybe what kind of, because it's an expensive affair, it is also a cultural change in the system, because at a board level possibly it is easier, maybe at a CXO level we can do it, but taking it to the branch, like Simranji has already mentioned, it's a very Herculean task, because if you have suppose 200, 500 and 1000 branches, it becomes a difficult task, and it is capex as well as expense driven. How you want to prioritize that, especially when it is a market where the customers are not assessed, where customers are assessed-based income, like a microfinance. How you see that whether it is an underwriting where you have to put in more energy and the time, is it the TAT where the productivity is the key, directly linked to the P&L, or is it something else which may be a risk? I mean, maybe a business risk. Just wanted to know some insight on that so that we can also prioritize basis where the customer base is large but assessment based. You may not get each and everything on the ground. Please help us. Thank you.
Interesting. Putting the weights on different things. Again, that's a subjective thing, so
I think you touched upon what is it that you will value more, be it risk assessment, or how is it that you drive some of these adaptations to so-called new age technologies by a wider spectrum of your employees. And so I think both the answer to both the questions are in a way correlated. First, I think there has to be a cultural shift, which I touched upon earlier, and that will not happen overnight. That adaptation is going to be really, really difficult, because end of the day, the teams which are being run, there are targets which are there, etc. So they are busy with that. If you tell them to do an additional piece of job by adapting to some AI tool, etc., they're going to say, "Yeah, this is not my cup of tea." So the only way that can happen is if you are able to sit with them and show them how their life is becoming easier. So it is a Herculean task, but there has to be a systematic process for you to be able to train the relevant people in that relevant domain. So coming back to the risk assessment part of it, and which is what Satya also mentioned here earlier about how is it that they're using technology to do transcription from local language to a credit appraisal memo being prepared. So I think that is there, but I don't think so you will be able to put a weightage to specific inputs that this is where you use X percentage of your efforts. I think as a company, as a business one is running, you will have to have facets of technology being used in multiple parts of your processes, right from origination till the closure of the loan. A sale is never concluded in a lending business when you just give the loan. It actually concludes when the monies are come back to you. Yeah. So it is every facet. So it has to be a culture of seeing how can we become more productive? How can I do a job of few days into few minutes? How is it that I can use data into intelligence? How is it that I can convert that into intelligence, and so on and so forth? So it will have to be a cultural ethos change across all levels. Now the priority of which department to pick first, it is dependent upon respective organizations. But ideally given a choice, I would want a thorough a training module for every employee in the company to be covered over a reasonable period of time, and them being able to adapt to such requirements of technology in their day-to-day work life.
Thank you.
If I may add, since you asked for microfinance, see, first and foremost ingredient is conviction in your belief. So you have to believe yourself that what you're doing is for the larger good and it's gonna have an impact. Because I think it is always the human nature is there is resistance to change. Anything that you bring in new, there would be some people who would say, oh, the old one was better. So you have to have conviction in your belief that life is going to be better after this, and then you take it to whatever level you want to. I can give you an example. We went from complete cash collection in microfinance to digital collection. The field officer was that if everything is going to be digital, my job is gone. So there was a mindset issue that people thought that, okay, we will not let this happen. So the penetration was very low. But then we went around and explained to them, this is making your life only easier. You have to explain the advantages. The biggest challenge in microfinance is carrying cash. It's not that every day there would be a robbery or theft, but whenever you go out of your house and you have a lakh or a 2 lakh rupees in your pocket, you always have that back of your mind that somebody might rob me. So we told them that it's your life much more easier. You don't have to carry anything. You don't have to worry that I'm coming at 5 o'clock in the evening at a small village which gets kind of a sleepy at the evening. So am I safe or not? So you don't have to. So those kind of things, and then your productivity improves. You will be able to do more business. You will get more incentive. So those kind of things. So you have to kind of sell your story as well, but at the same time, first of all, you have to conviction in your belief that what you're doing is for larger good, and then I'm sure people will follow that.
Yeah. Can we move on to the next question? There are other people waiting, and you'll all get an opportunity. Ma'am, yes.
Yeah. Hello, sir. My question is to Mr. Sabyasachi Rate. So you mentioned that you are able to get verification of the property within 30 minutes. So what's the accuracy level of that verification, and how they are doing in such a short period of time?
Yeah, actually, the accuracy level is almost 100% because initial 6 months we also did parallelly our own title search through various lawyers, which is most of the NBFCs, they add up to it. So it's actually 100%. So they are not across every state. They're in 10 states, and they have tied up with the government there. So they have given their API, they have published their API. So they extract directly from the SRO offices from the API. So the accuracy is almost 100%. Yeah.
I'd like to really appreciate all our panelists for their wonderful insights, for joining us on this forum. And the NBFCs really are a segment that is flourishing and attracting the attention of the entire nation. Banking Frontiers got into this NBFC conference about 5 years ago. It's been a great journey for us, and we hope to now, in the future, expand to other cities, because NBFCs are not Mumbai-centric, they're all over the country. So we really hope to go out and do similar workshops, training programs, conferences, all over the place. So once again, thank you all very much. Lovely having you here.